Hi, everyone. Thank you for so much for your patience and for joining me today. My name is Leanne Robes, and today I will be giving you just a very short workshop on how to prevent mental fatigue while staying productive. So, one of the things that we don't talk enough about, right, when it has come to these very trying times and this very difficult year is, how are we feeling? How are we feeling internally? How is everything that's going on around us, the chaos, the kind of buzz, all the changes, how is it affecting us mentally and emotionally? This has been a tough time for many. It's been a tough time for myself included. And it really has put a toll on our physical health, our mental health, and our emotional health. And so today, I really thought that I would just spend some time to talk about this and to share some tips for you that you can learn and hopefully use on a daily basis. So, who am I? As mentioned, my name is Leanne Robes, and I am somebody who wears many different hats. The first hat that I wear is I'm the co-founder of She Loves Tech. She Loves Tech, we founded this in 2015 and has now grown to the world's largest startup competition and accelerator program for women and technology. We are based in over 30 countries around the world, and we've just finished our very trying year of 40 over rounds of startup competition and our conference that we had a couple of weeks ago. So the other hat that I wear is um, I I mentor a lot of startup founders, and I'm an advisor to multiple companies, such as Microsoft. So I'm an honorary Microsoft regional director, and I provide advice and mentorship to Microsoft to help leads on the development of their products. The other hat that I wear is I'm a psychotherapist. I've My background has been in psychology. I come from a family of psychologists. I decided that I was still gonna, study psychology. So I did that for my undergrad. I did organizational psychology for my grad, and right now I'm also doing my PhD in psychology. And specifically, my thesis is around using psychological and neuroscience tools to help us to be better leaders. So I thought that I would just share with you some of the things that I'm doing for my thesis, and some things that we can take home that are just simple and practical. So today's topic, is on mental fatigue. What is mental fatigue? You know, a lot of times we feel extremely overwhelmed. We feel emotionally and mentally drained. And these are all some indicators that we may be suffering from mental fatigue. So, mental fatigue is caused by prolonged cognitive and emotional health. Basically, our brain is in overdrive and it leaves us exhausted, and it hampers our productivity and it hampers our cognitive function. More commonly, it is known as burnout. And we've heard this term burnout so many times, but I thought that I would share with you, some things that people do face while going through burnout. So here are just some signs of mental fatigue and burnout. Sometimes burnout, mental fatigue can be very severe. So when I was in college, I faced a time of extreme stress. I had been studying really hard, and one day I found myself completely unable to get out of bed. I was sleeping a lot. I didn't have any kind of motivation to work, even though I had studied hard. But even in presentations, in some of my exams, I had mental block. I couldn't find the right words. I sometimes just blanked out. I was also eating quite a bit. I had put on quite a bit of weight. And I just could not stop sleeping. And no matter how much I slept, I still felt extremely tired and extremely drained. And I realized that I wasn't just overworked, I was also emotionally drained. And it affected my mood. I felt sad, I felt angry, I felt irritated and annoyed at people really easily. And that took even a greater toll on my mental self. And it made me feel even more tired and burnt out, um, which just made me feel worse. And it was this self perpetuating downward spiral. So, why do we feel this way? After a long and tiring day at work, we like to vegetate in front of the TV. And we do this because we think that we're turning off our brain just a little bit, right? And that it will help our brain rest and will feel energized and recharged. I used to do this a lot. And it took me a long while to realize that it wasn't helping me to feel recharged and energized. And especially wasn't helping me to feel less burned out. The reason that we the reason that we have burnout and mental fatigue is not that it's just a cognitive problem, but it is also an emotional problem because our emotions and cognition are intrinsically linked in our brain. And this is the reason why zoning out in front of the TV, it helps us to reduce the cognitive load a little bit, because we turn off our minds for a little while, but it is really not enough to feel um, energized, to feel recharged, because we are not addressing the other half of mental fatigue, which is the emotional component. So mental fatigue happens because our brains are in overdrive. And neuroscience tells us that our brains have two sides of the brain. It has the cognitive side of the brain, the prefrontal cortex, and it has the emotional side of the brain, the limbic system. And even now, research and neuroscience has shown us that, for example, our prefrontal cortex that was previously used or known to just serve a very cognitive function is now being used, and is important in emotional regulation. So, if we want to deal with mental fatigue more effectively, we really have to integrate these two sides of the brain, the emotional side and the cognitive side of the brain. How do we do this integration? What I'm going to talk about is steps that you can do today to build greater emotional and mental resiliency and to take back control so your emotions and mental fatigue and burnout don't overpower you. So, here are some steps towards emotional and mental resiliency. I mentioned earlier that I come from a family of psychologists. And so my dad and I have developed this program that we call the 4Ds. And so I'd like to share with you the 4D framework, which is define, diffuse, discern, and develop. And we'll go through this one by one. Let's start with the first D. It is to define and to seek personal space. The first step to integrating this emotional and cognitive brain is to be more aware of your emotions. And in order for us to be able to do that, we need to first practice being vulnerable to ourselves, which is a lot of times not a very comfortable thing to do. So I want you to do this very short activity with me. Grab a piece of pen and paper if you can. If not, use a tablet, use your phone, use a computer, whatever you're on. And I want you to just spend a minute writing down what in your life do you feel most challenged by. I want you to be vulnerable to yourself. I know that this isn't the most comfortable thing to do. We try to sometimes avoid thinking about these things, thinking about bad things, but I really want you to today to spend some of this time just being real to yourself, being vulnerable to yourself, so that I can help you use some of these tools to help you to build a more resilient self. So let's just take a minute and to write down what you feel most challenged by. Okay. You don't have to write it all to yourself, all out in a huge essay. And at the end of the day, this is only for you. You don't have to share it with other people. This is really your own journey. So I hope that you've started giving thought to what you feel most challenged by. I mean, for some, it may be work related, it may be school related, it may be personal issues, right? Issues with um, a partner, issues with parents, issues with friends. So, what I want you to do right now is I want you to go to this challenge that you have written out, and I want you to close your eyes and to really focus on this challenge. I want you to bring up this image, as uncomfortable as it is, and just picture that moment that causes you, that stress causes you, the anxiety. I want you to start observing what you are feeling. I want you to start observing what you're sensing in your body. Is your heart racing? Are your palms becoming sweaty? What are you saying to yourself? And what are the things that you believe about yourself? And again, I know that this may be uncomfortable for many, but we need to take the first step towards this emotional awareness. Okay. So, I would have loved to be in front of you to really just ask you these questions, but, just answer it on your own, in your own space, in your own time. What are you feeling in your body? What are you sensing? What are you thinking? And now, here is where we go to our second D, which is the diffusion of it. We have all of these really strong emotions that come into play and sometimes overpower us, sometimes take control. Some of you, if you had written down or kind of was picturing a very, very challenging scenario, challenging situation, you may have really felt all the emotions kind of rushing to you. And that's okay. We have emotions, and emotions are not bad. They're extremely important for so many things. They're important for, even forming memory, for decision making. But how do we take control of our emotions and not let them take control of us? And this is where this step, the diffusion step, really, really comes into play. I know for many people, you may be experiencing great stress. I know it's been a stressful, even morning, for even the Open Circles team, right? When things don't go your way, what do? Emotions come to you. How can you help to bring down that level of emotion in a way that doesn't harm you? So, what I want to do is I really want to teach you a very, very simple exercise that I use with my clients called bilateral tapping. And bilateral tapping is the stimulation or the rhythmic tapping that helps to dissolve emotional barriers, and it changes your brain's neural circuits. So here is where we talk a lot about the rewiring of the brain. We're changing the brain's neural circuits, and there have just been such amazing studies that have been done. They've done PET scans before bilateral stimulation and after bilateral stimulation. You can really see, the parts that are associated with stress, with anxiety, really start to change and to be diffused once doing bilateral stimulation. So today I'm just going to teach you a very simple exercise for contacting a peaceful place, a calm place, and adding short amounts of bilateral stimulation to just calm yourself down right away. So, what I want you to do is, I want you to do this exercise with me. I want you to cross your arms and follow me, right? It's almost like giving yourself a nice big hug. So, I want you to cross your arms, kind of your hands can be kind of where your shoulders are. And what I want you to do is I want you to start tapping left, right, left, right, left, right. And to do this at a pace that is comfortable for you. Different people, um, you know, have different level of comforts. Some people like it to be a lot quicker pace. So my father likes his tapping is like this, and he finds this extremely comfortable, and that is okay. That to me is way too quick. So I prefer something that's slower. And some people prefer something that's even slower than that. But just kind of observe and close your eyes and kind of just find a pace that is comfortable for you. One of the most important things in this exercise is number one, that you don't tap too lightly or too strongly that you're like hitting yourself and really starting to feel the slaps on your arms, and it's not very comfortable kind of feeling. I don't want you to do that. But I need you to still feel the taps. If you are not comfortable with doing this, what we call the butterfly hug, you can also do it sitting down, right? And you can tap your knees. When you tap your knees, you can't see my knees, but when you tap your knees, you don't have to cross your arms like this. You can just tap them kind of one knee at a time. Yeah. So with the knee tapping, again, you don't have to cross it. You're just tapping left, right, left, right. The other thing that's really important during this exercise is that you tap alternate, you alternate the tapping. So you're not tapping like this, right? But you are really tapping one after another, left, right, left, right. Okay. So I just want to get you all comfortable with this. And what I want to do is I'm going to guide you through this very simple exercise. I want you to stop tapping for a moment and to only tap when I tell you to tap. So I want you to close your eyes and take a moment to yourself. I want you to start picturing a place that feels very peaceful, that feels very calm to you. This is a place that you could have been to, or even an imagined place. It could be by the ocean, by a lake. It could be up in the mountains or at the beach. You could even be doing an activity that you love. And when you're able to really picture that peaceful place, that calm place, and have that strong sense in your body, I want you to start tapping left, right, left, right, left, right. And I want you to continue to tap as long as it feels positive. If you start having strong negative memories, stop tapping, go back and bring up again that peaceful place. And when it's positive, you can start tapping again. Left, right, left, right. Still keeping your eyes closed. I want you to observe what is around you. Are you watching the sunrise or sunset? Or are you in a very peaceful room? It could be big and it could be small. Start taking in all the sights, the sounds, the smells. If you are by the ocean, really take in that lovely smell of the ocean water. If you are in a small room in Paris, take in the smells of that lovely cafe that you may be next to. Who are you with? Are you by yourself? Just embracing in all that peace and that quietness being by yourself? Or are you with other people? And I want you to just take everything in and just continue tapping as long as it feels positive. And when you are ready, you can just stop the tapping and slowly open your eyes. So let's check in. How was that for you? I hope that this was able to really, because we went from an exercise that to some brought great anxiety, a lot of emotions. And I hope that this exercise can help to really bring down some of that anxiety straight away And it's been a very effective tool for a lot of my clients. I use this in large corporations like Microsoft as well to teach some of their top leaders how to be able to reduce the anxiety immediately. So the next D is to discern. And here it is really about, understanding what are the self-limiting beliefs that we tell ourselves and to be able to cognitively reframe some of those self-limiting beliefs. What I'm going to teach you today is what I call ANTs, and they stand for automatic negative thoughts. And negative thoughts and negative beliefs, are kind of these thoughts, these feelings, these sensations, it has a very real image. And it's stored in our memory network, it's stored in our body. We have just such an amazing system in our body that retains everything, even from the time that you were born until now. Our body and our memory network remembers, even if we don't. A lot of times, there's so many things that we don't remember, but our body does. And if we are not able to, if we're not able to process this, if we're not aware of this, it could really harm us in the long run. So let's go back to what I talked about earlier, which are the ants. So I have here 12 ants. They are automatic negative thoughts. And that while they look quite cute, they are actually very, very evil and are not good for you at all. So I'm going to go through some of them. So you have the black and white ant. So this is really the all or nothing ant. This is the ant that says, oh, I am either a successful person or I'm a failure, and there's nothing in between. I am either, a good person or I'm a bad person. You have the personalization end that says, well, oh dear, like my boss came in, my professor came in, and he looked extremely angry with me. He just completely dismissed me. Oh, I must have done something terribly wrong. What did I do? What did I do? What did I do? Right? I must have like really angered him. I must have really made him really upset. You have the fortune telling end. This is the end that even before it hasn't happened, we tend to assume how people think. So, I maybe shouldn't speak up in a meeting because I'm going to make a fool of myself. Everybody's going to think that I'm stupid if I say the wrong thing. I shouldn't, get on. I shouldn't explore this like extracurricular activity of dancing. I'm not a very good dancer, so I'm just going to look really stupid, and everybody is going to think that I'm an idiot. You have the end that blames other people, that always tries to say it's not my fault, it's somebody else. Yes, things didn't work out, but it was because this person didn't give me the kind of right information. It's because this person like gave me information late. It's because this professor didn't tell me how exactly he wanted it. It's a self blame. It's the blaming end. Then you have the end that focuses on the negatives. For all the 10 things that you did right, the one thing that didn't work in your favor, that's what I'm going to focus on, right? Like, oh my goodness, yes, I did so well the entire year, but there was this one test I did really badly. I think I'm never going to get this. I just feel like such a failure. I can't think beyond kind of this one negative. And then you have the irrational expectation end that says, well, I feel like I should be doing this. I feel like, everybody is, um, everybody is following this trend, so I must go into it. Everybody is right now into AI, into technology, so I must select a career in technology. So you have the irrational expectation end. And then you have all of these other ends. But what I want you to do is I want you to look back at the first example that we did, the challenges example, the challenges activity. And I want you to start again reflecting on those challenges that you're facing, right? The most difficult challenges. What is the situation? What is the challenge that you're facing and the trigger? What is the automatic negative thought that you're feeling? And what type of ant does that correspond to? Okay, I'm going to go back to the slide on the ants so that you can just take some time to really identify the different ants. And everybody is so different, but from time to time, these little cute ants, they creep in and they really get to you and they really start pulling us down. They affect our self-esteem. And they are just this critical voice that's in our head that just doesn't go away. So let's just take some time to identify what is the trigger, what is that situation, what is the automatic negative thought, and what is the and that corresponds to it. So let me give you an example. So in a situation that I may have not done a project well, I did a project and I didn't get a good grade out of it. Well, immediately the automatic negative thought is, oh my goodness, I am a failure. I am never going to be able to get this. Um, People, my other classmates must think that I am so stupid. So, and then what are the ends, right? Well, I can already see that it's a labeling end that I'm stupid. I am a failure. I have the all or nothing end. So, what are the automatic negative thoughts that are kind of really that you're telling yourself that keep weighing you down? I'm just going to take another minute for you to really just write down. And it may not even have been the challenge that you wrote down. If another challenge comes to mind, and go ahead and use that. I see some questions come in, and I will make sure that we have space to answer these questions. And I'll just leave them for the end of my session to be able to get to your questions. Okay. So now that we've done this exercise on finding the trigger, having the automatic negative thought, being able to identify the type of end, what I want you to do is I want you to start transforming your ant into a pet. What do I mean by a pet? Pets are positive, empowering thoughts, So really moving from a place that you are telling yourself that you're bad, you're telling yourself that you can't do this, telling yourself that, you're never going to be successful, to really transforming it to a thought that's empowering and positive. So just like in the previous example, I didn't do well in my project, so I'm always going to fail. My teacher must think so poorly of me. He thinks that I'm really stupid. My classmates think I'm really stupid. Because I didn't do well in this project, I'm always going to be a failure. I'm never going to do well in school and in life, right? To transforming them to positive, empowering thoughts. Yes, I may not have done so well in this project, but I learned so much during this time, right? I I made really great friends as part of my project group. And I know that I may not have gotten the grade that I wanted, but I know that I'm going to work harder the next time round. I get it more, and I'm going to be able to um, strive for bigger and better things the next time, right? And so turning really that ant into your pet. So I'm going to just keep moving forward, and you can do this kind of in your free time. The last D is develop. you know, we can really cultivate um, a vision of the future instead of being driven by the patterns of the past. And so there are a lot of things that we want to be that we may not be right now. And when we practice imagining, our renewed self, imagining that ideal self, our brain fires new neural pathways and networks, and it is able to reform and to rewire itself. So you can choose emotions that you seek to experience when you start to envision the future that you want to be. So what I want you to do is I want you to start practicing this renewed self that you want to be. So I want you to again, close your eyes, kind of envision in your mind who you would like to be, and sense that experience in your body. So, for example, if the challenge that you are facing is that you have stage fright, you may want to envision yourself on stage, how you would like to present yourself, how you would like to show up, just how you would like to look on that stage, how you want to stand, you want to stand tall, how you would like to project your voice, how you would like to feel, you want to feel confident, you want to feel strong, you want to feel capable. I want you to just close your eyes and to just imagine that um, that renewed self that you would like to become. And after you just have that image in your head, I want you to join me again and tap, right? So just close your eyes, imagine that renewed self. And when you can really have that strong sense of who you would like to be, and it's a positive sense, I want you to tap left, right, left, right, and just tap at a comfortable and constant pace. You could imagine yourself being a great speaker. Imagine yourself being able to deliver a great presentation. Imagine yourself doing well at work. Or just imagine the kind of feelings that you want to feel about yourself. I want to be confident. I want to be strong. I want to feel capable. And just tap left, right, left, right. And as your eyes are closed, I want you to ask yourself, can I choose to be this person? Do I want to be this person? When can I be this person? And I am becoming to be this person. And in this moment, I want you to just make that personal commitment. I can be this. I choose to be this. I want to be this. And I am becoming this. I can be this. I choose to be this person. I want to be this person. And I am becoming this person. And when you are comfortable and when you are ready, you can stop tapping and slowly open your eyes. And a lot of times, we can't really practice, um, we can't really envision the renewed self because we're holding on to so many things without being able to let go. So I really want you today to be able to also practice being able to let go. We cannot develop um, and experience real transformation if we are holding on to our past. We need to be able to release tension, to be able to release some of the worries and release some of the things that are holding us back. Letting go isn't necessarily an easy thing. But I just want to give you just, again, very simple tool that can help you to just take the initial steps towards practicing letting go. So I want you to kind of put your hands together like this, right? And then I want you to flip your hands downwards. So again, so I'm flipping them downwards so that my thumbs kind of are facing down, right? And the back of my hands are together. I'm going to cross over and I'm going to clasp my hands together. So I'm going to do this again, okay? So I put my hands together. I'm going to flip my hands downwards. So I'm going to flip it out. So the palms of my hands are outwards, right? The backs of my hands are together, thumbs facing down. And then all I'm going to do is just cross my arms, right? And clasp my hands together. So my thumbs are still facing down. So what I want you to do is I want you to do this with me. I want you to be able to breathe in and bring your hands together towards your heart. And when you breathe out, I want you to push away your hands. Okay, but still keep this in this locked position. So let's do this again. I want you to breathe in and bring your hands towards you. And I want you to breathe out and push your hands away from you. So while we're doing this, breathing in and breathing out, I want you to start identifying the things that you want for yourself. And so, for example, I want to be confident. I want to be successful. I want to be kind. And when you breathe in, I want you to really just embrace all of these things and breathe in and start to feel all of these things. Okay? I want to be kind. I want to be strong. I want to be confident. And when we breathe out, I want you to really almost push away and almost like really physically, kind of like pushing away the things that are holding you back. I want to feel less of a failure. I want to, you know, f- feel like I'm not beating myself up. I want to stop beating myself up and really just push away the things that you don't want or you don't even like about yourself. So again, breathe in and breathe in all the positives. Breathe in all the things that you want. I want you to breathe out and push away all the negatives, all those critical voices in your head, all of that negatives. I want you to just push it away. So again, breathe in and breathe in all the positives, all the desired things for yourself. And breathe out. Kind of really just imagine yourself just pushing away all of these negatives for yourself. So let's do this one more time. Breathe in and breathe in all the positives: love, compassion, strength. And breathe out all the negatives. Okay, so this is just a very simple exercise, but it really is just the first step of being able to practice that letting go. Sometimes we're not ready to let go of something. And so it's about us asking ourselves, can we let go of it? Okay, yes, I can let go of this, but I'm not ready to do this right now. Would I let go of it? And it's okay if you're not ready to let go of it right now. But when can I let go of this? So today we covered my 4D framework. So kind of define what you're feeling, define your emotions that you're experiencing, define, the challenges, define, the struggles that you are having in your life right now. To be able to diffuse that using bilateral tapping, getting in touch with a peaceful place, and being able to bring down that anxiety, bring down those strong emotions, to discern, to be able to identify, what are those critical voices that are in our head? What are those nasty ants? And how can I turn those nasty ants into pets, into something that's positive and empowering? And then lastly, to envision ourselves being that person, to envision ourselves being the person that we would like to become. So, in doing this 4D framework, I want you to start building towards potential and optimism, mental and emotional resiliency, adaptability, maturity, and really to cultivate your best possible self. So I'm going to just pause here and make sure that I answer some of these questions, right? So somebody has asked, how do I solve procrastination? And I think procrastination is because of overworking and stress. Okay. So again, a lot of times we think of procrastination being a cognitive thing, right? Or we think that procrastination happens because, because sometimes we are so overwhelmed by work that all of these things, that tasks that we need to do, and so we procrastinate. But the core root of procrastination stems from an emotional one. Why are we procrastinating, right? What what is the reasons that we are putting this off? So I know a lot of people, I see clients in the clinical setting, and some of my clients are, in college, and they procrastination is a really big one for them. They procrastinate and then they study last minute, right? And they cram everything into this very, very short period of time. And then they stay awake, they burn the midnight oil, and then they don't do as well as they wanted to do. And then they tell themselves, I am not going to do this next semester. But guess what? It happens again and again and again. Why are we procrastinating? A lot of times we procrastinate because we're fearful of something. And sometimes when we delve into those fears, it may be fearful that, well, if we try, we may not succeed. And then we have to admit to ourselves that we did not succeed. And then we feel like a failure. What are those fears that are preventing you from doing what you want to do and in a timely manner? Sometimes it is procrastinating even the smallest things, right? Procrastinating, paying your phone bills on time, paying all these things. But no matter how big or small a task is, there's an underlying emotion and underlying fear that comes from it. And then we need to do our 40s, right? We need to be able to define what that is, right? To be able to fuse, to discern, to develop, and then to pair that with good organization, right? Being able to put certain processes and structures in place so that we have room to be able to do some of these things. So I hate admin things. I really used to procrastinate to the extent that I would miss all of kind of like my bill payments, and I had to pay an extra fee. And this happened not just once, not just twice, but it was a struggle every month. And it always came to procrastinating about bills that I had to pay. And I realized that one of the fears that I was holding on to was I I needed to hoard money. I needed to see a lot of money in my bank account. So I felt that that was my sense of security. And that if I see money exiting my bank account, that would affect, my confidence, that would affect kind of like how I saw success. So I would really leave everything kind of to the last minute before I made that transfer. But I realized that this was an end, right? These were automatic negative thoughts and feelings, but that they were so untrue. I didn't, whether or not I transferred or made the payments to pay my bills, um, you know, one day before or 5 days before, it actually didn't matter. And so I needed to be able to identify, right, to define what is it that was holding me back and why, and then be able to really then develop and make new habits, form new ways of doing things, have set alarms, right? Be able to just have a routine and a sequence so that you could do all these things and not procrastinate. Okay. So yes, procrastination is due to stress, right? but it has a huge stress also is an emotional, it can be a huge emotional response. So why, right? Identify why we're stressed, why we're overworked. And a lot of this feeling overwhelmed, it is a feeling. How can we be able to help ourselves to be able to feel less overwhelmed so that we have space to build towards all of these things, adaptability, resilience, and to your greater potential. Okay. I think there's another question around what are some ways for me to break down my work and make it easier to accomplish? One of the greatest things that I have realized during this time of COVID is we need to have clear boundaries set. Because I don't know about you, but a lot of us are still working from home. And without clear boundaries, it's very easy for us to feel overworked, to feel stressed, to feel, all of these. We talk about Zoom fatigue, right? Let alone mental and emotional fatigue. So we need to put these boundaries in place in our lives. One of the things that I've started doing is really that I have now two phones. I have a work phone and I have a personal phone. And come 7 p.m., come 8 p.m., I put my work phone outside of my bedroom and I do not touch it, right, until the next morning. And setting aside and being able to create these clear boundaries is so important because I was bringing kind of my work into the bed and I was like working, sometimes working all the way until 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m. Because it's just with me all the time. I see a message, immediately my attention is there. So the first thing to do is set clear boundaries. The second thing is knowing how our brain works. So Zoom is and being having these like video conferences, being able to work virtually has been really, really hard. And actually Microsoft has done this really great study. They have this thing called Humans Factor Lab that they started researching and tracking brain wave activity and seeing how our brain responded to virtual like virtual conferences, virtual kind of meetings. And they realized that after 30 minutes of a work meeting that is done virtually, whatever platform it is, Teams, Zoom, WebEx, after 30 minutes, our brain gets overworked and our brain gets stressed. And so when we don't do anything, we keep layering and layering and layering, right? So, we don't set 30-minute meetings. We set 3-hour meetings, right? So after 30 minutes, your brain already starts feeling that stress. And then you just keep adding more and more and more and more fatigue, right? So then it becomes, then your brain goes into overdrive. And so it's really important to understand the mechanisms of it and be able to then say, okay, after 30 minutes, I'm going to take a break. Even if it is a short break, I turn off, my camera for a little bit. I just take 60 seconds of reset, right? 60 seconds to breathe, 60 seconds to tap, 60 seconds to, just do a walk around the room or even get a sip of water. Just taking that 60 seconds of reset after 30 minutes of especially virtual activities is really, really important. And so, being able to have that clear boundaries, being able to understand the mechanisms, how our brain works, and to be able to then put structures in place to help our brain feel less tired and less fatigued. And then the lastly is to really, be able to tackle the emotional component of it as well, right? And that's where the 4D framework really comes in to define, what you're feeling, what your struggles are, to be able to diffuse that, getting in touch with that peaceful place, to discern, to understand what are those limiting beliefs that we're constantly telling ourselves, I'm not good enough, I can't do this, I'm never going to get it, to be able to reframe them into something that's positive and empowering. And then to really envisage the renewed self. So I'm going to just pause here and, really thank you so much for being so patient, for spending this hour with me. Thank you for just taking this time to learn and to better yourself. So I hope that the session has been a useful one for you, has given you some tools. And I just want to end with this very short um, exercise. So if we close our eyes and we go back into the bilateral tapping, I want you to start tapping. And I want you to repeat after me. Even if you don't feel these words, doesn't matter, you can just repeat it. So I choose life. I am present. I love myself. I am grateful. And I am adaptive. I choose life. I am present. I love myself. I am grateful. And I am adaptive. I choose life. I am present. I love myself. I am grateful. And I am adaptive. And this set of 5 statements is just such a powerful one. And do it until you feel the words. In the morning, imagine yourself in terms of your best version of yourself showing up at work, showing up in your family. When you come back from lunch, be able to reset, be able to again envision that best possible version of yourself. And then when you go home and just before you you wind down or you sleep, say these 5 statements and just tap it in. I choose life. I'm present. I love myself. I'm grateful and I'm adaptive. So once again, thank you for joining me today. And feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn, on Instagram. Thank you and hope to see you soon.